The greatest mistake someone can make is assuming you'll always be there. When he takes your love for granted, when he grows careless with your time, when he stops appreciating your presence, he unknowingly writes the script for his own regret. Because the day you decide to walk away, the day you finally stop giving him the best parts of you, that's the day he realizes what he's lost. And by then, it's too late. His comfort turns into longing, his ego turns into guilt, and his biggest regret becomes the fact that he treated you like an option when you were always the prize. Silence is one of the most powerful responses you can give to someone who has taken you for granted. When you were there, he got used to the sound of your voice, your reassurance, your explanations, even your arguments. All of it told him you still cared, that he still had your attention, that no matter what he did, you were emotionally invested. But when you stop explaining, stop repeating yourself, stop chasing his acknowledgement, that silence becomes deafening. He may not admit it, but he feels it. Because silence strips away the illusion of control he thought he had. When a man takes you for granted, he assumes you'll always react. He thinks your love will always be proven through effort, through trying to fix things, through justifying your place in his life. But when you stop, when you simply remove your energy, he's forced to sit with himself. He's left with his own thoughts, his own guilt, his own awareness that the presence he dismissed is no longer there. Silence isn't about punishment, it's about reclaiming your power. You don't have to shout to make your point. You don't have to beg to be seen. You let the emptiness speak on your behalf. And here's what makes it sting even more. Silence is unexpected. He may have prepared himself for a fight, for your anger, for tears or accusations. He knows how to handle noise. But he doesn't know what to do with silence, because silence is final. Silence is a mirror that forces him to face what he's done without distraction. It leaves him wondering what you're thinking, what you're doing, who you're with, and whether you'll ever come back. That uncertainty gnaws at him, and that's where regret begins to grow. The truth is, words can be dismissed, but silence lingers. He can argue back against your explanations. He can roll his eyes at your complaints, but he can't argue with the fact that you've gone quiet. That absence is undeniable. It shows him that you're no longer willing to fight for a place in his life, and ironically, that's what makes him finally realize how valuable you were. The silence you give him becomes the loudest wake-up call he'll ever get. The version of you he dismissed will be the version he misses most, and that is the irony of regret. When he had you, he barely noticed the way you showed up with love, the way you supported him, the way your kindness made his world softer. He thought it was normal, ordinary, always available, but the moment you're gone, he's forced to look back, and suddenly those small gestures he overlooked become monumental. He'll remember the way you believed in him when no one else did, the way you listened without judgment, the way you made the mundane feel special. And it will hit him. He didn't just lose someone, he lost the version of you who gave freely. What makes this so painful for him is that he can't get that version of you back. Because once someone has been taken for granted, they don't return the same. You learn, you grow, you stop offering unconditional loyalty to someone who couldn't value it. Even if he tries to come back, he'll never get the same energy he once dismissed, because you'll no longer pour into him the way you did before. That generosity, that patience, that softness, it belonged to a version of you that existed when you believed he deserved it. And that becomes his biggest regret, realizing too late that the love he brushed aside was rare. It's only in your absence that he'll start to compare. He'll notice that not everyone listens like you did, not everyone cares with the same depth, not everyone stands by someone through highs and lows the way you once did. What he treated as replaceable becomes irreplaceable the moment it's gone, and that realization will sting every time he meets someone new and silently measures them against you. The very things he ignored will turn into the very things he can't stop thinking about. He'll wish he had paid more attention, been more grateful, and shown you the respect you always deserved. But the truth about regret is that it doesn't rewind time. It only reminds him of what he lost. And for him, that version of you, the one he failed to appreciate, will become the ghost he can't escape. His comfort with your presence is what blinded him to your value. When someone believes you'll always be there, they stop looking closely, they stop appreciating the little things, and they start treating your love like background noise. He didn't wake up and think, "I'll take her for granted today." It happened slowly as he grew too used to the idea that no matter how he behaved, you would show up, forgive, and continue to give. Familiarity made him forget that your presence was not guaranteed. It was a privilege, but when you finally step away, that same comfort turns into a void. The ease he once felt becomes unbearable discomfort. He'll notice it in the small moments, reaching for his phone and realizing you're not the one texting, hearing good news and realizing you're not the one celebrating with him, going through hard days and realizing your encouragement isn't there to catch him. What he once dismissed as ordinary suddenly feels extraordinary in its absence. And that's when regret sets in, because the things he barely noticed become the things he can't stop craving. It's human nature to underestimate what feels constant. We stop valuing the water running from the tap until the well runs dry. He thought your patience, your laughter, your loyalty were endless streams, always available whenever he wanted them. But once you walk away, he'll realize those things weren't infinite. They came from you, and losing you means losing access to them. That realization shakes him because it forces him to confront the truth. He confused your generosity for permanence. The hardest part for him will be knowing that he had every chance to appreciate you while you were there. Nothing new needed to happen. He just needed to see what was in front of him, but he didn't. And now he's left with the sting of hindsight, where clarity is sharp and cruel. The comfort he once enjoyed becomes the sharpest edge of regret, because it reminds him that he traded gratitude for complacency, and in doing so, he lost something he can't get back. The silence after you leave will be louder than any words you could have spoken. When you were there, he may have tuned out your voice, brushed off your feelings, or acted like your presence was simply part of the background. He didn't realize that your energy filled the room, that your laughter made ordinary days brighter, that your consistency anchored him more than he ever admitted. He thought he could ignore you without consequence, but once you step away, the absence of your presence becomes deafening. Suddenly, there's no message waiting on his phone to break up a long day. There's no one asking if he's eaten, no one reminding him that he matters, no one to share his wins and losses with. What once felt like noise now feels like silence, and that silence forces him to sit with himself. The truth about silence is that it doesn't just represent what's missing, it echoes what he failed to value. Every quiet evening becomes a reminder of the love he no longer has access to. Every empty moment becomes proof of what he lost by not appreciating you when he had the chance. That silence is powerful because it doesn't let him escape. He can distract himself, surround himself with people, drown himself in busyness, but when the night comes and things slow down, he'll hear the quiet. And in that quiet, he'll remember you. He'll remember the way you made his world feel less heavy, the way your words encouraged him when life knocked him down, the way your presence brought a kind of peace he didn't even know he relied on. Silence, in that way, becomes the punishment for his neglect. It forces him to miss the very thing he once dismissed. And here's the painful part. No matter how badly he regrets it, silence cannot be undone. Once you stop giving him your energy, your effort, and your attention, he can't demand it back. He can try to fill the gap with others, but it won't feel the same, because it wasn't just attention you gave, it was depth, sincerity, and love. The silence left behind is his consequence, and it will haunt him long after you've moved forward with your life. The image of you thriving without him will be the one thing he can't escape. When he took you for granted, part of him assumed that if you ever walked away, you'd struggle, you'd miss him, and you'd quietly hope to get him back. That belief fed his ego because it made him feel irreplaceable in your life. But the moment he sees you living well without him, smiling, pursuing your passions, and glowing in your independence, it shatters that illusion. Nothing wounds a man's pride more than realizing the person he dismissed is actually better off without him. What makes this so powerful is that you're not thriving to prove a point. You're thriving because you finally redirected all that love and energy back into yourself. You're building a life that feels fulfilling on your terms, not one built around someone else's lack of appreciation. And that shift creates a confidence and a radiance that he can't ignore. He'll look at you and remember the times he made you feel small, the moments he underestimated you, and he'll realize that the woman he once overlooked has become the woman he can never forget. This kind of regret runs deeper than jealousy. It cuts into his identity. Because when he sees you succeed, he's forced to face the truth that he was the one holding you back, not the other way around. He thought you needed him, when in reality, he was the one who needed the kind of love and loyalty you gave so effortlessly. Watching you grow without him will feel like losing twice, once when you left, and again when he sees you flourishing in ways he never supported. Every smile, every achievement, every sign of your happiness without him will be a reminder of what he lost. He won't be able to convince himself that you're sitting at home missing him, because the evidence of your strength and joy will be undeniable. And while you're not living for his regret, it will inevitably come. Because nothing haunts a man more than realizing the person he thought would always be waiting is now thriving in a world where he no longer has a place. The final regret he'll carry is knowing that he taught you how to live without him. In the moments he dismissed your feelings, ignored your needs, or treated you as though you were replaceable, he unknowingly pushed you to build a life where he wasn't the center anymore. At first you may have tried harder, given more, fought for the connection you believed in. But over time, his neglect trained you to stop depending on him, to stop waiting for him, and to stop seeing him as the only source of your happiness. By the time you walked away, you had already learned how to stand without him, and that's the truth he'll never forgive himself for. This regret cuts deep because it exposes the illusion he lived in. He believed you'd always be available, no matter how little he gave in return. He thought your love was endless, your patience unbreakable. But people forget that strength is built through pain, and every time he failed to show up for you, you grew stronger in showing up for yourself. That strength doesn't vanish when he realizes his mistake. It only grows, and the more you prove to yourself that you don't need him, the more powerless he becomes in rewriting the story. For him, the torment comes not just from losing you, but from recognizing that you've outgrown him. He can't return to the past because the person you were, the one who depended on his love and validation, no longer exists. You've evolved into someone who knows her worth, who invests her energy into people who value it, and who no longer settles for crumbs of affection. That transformation is permanent, and it ensures he can't undo the damage he caused. The cruel twist of regret is that it arrives only when the door is truly closed. He'll think about how easily he could have kept you, how little effort it would have taken to appreciate what you gave. But by the time he realizes this, the version of you who once waited for him has disappeared, and the life you've built without him becomes undeniable proof that his biggest mistake was teaching you you'd be fine on your own. Because once you've discovered that freedom, there's no going back. When someone takes you for granted, it feels like the deepest cut. You question your worth, you wonder if you gave too much, and you ask yourself why he couldn't see what was right in front of him. But here's the truth: his blindness doesn't define your value. His inability to cherish you doesn't reduce the power of what you offered. It only exposes his weakness in recognizing it. The day you decide to walk away, you shift the story forever, because while he's left sitting with regret, replaying what he lost, you're stepping into freedom, growth, and strength. You're learning to give your energy only to those who deserve it. You're reclaiming your happiness, and you're building a life where you're no longer waiting to be appreciated. You're already celebrated, and that's the ultimate justice. His biggest regret will always be assuming you'd stay no matter how little he gave, and your greatest victory will be proving that you never needed him to validate your worth. You were always the prize, and once he finally realizes that, it will already be too late.